Hey y'all, today's video is a long time coming for me. This is something that I've wanted to film for a very long time. A lot of people know me from the herp world, and as much as I do love my reptiles and amphibians, I have to admit parrots were actually my first love, just birds in general, really. They were the first animals that, I really had as a kid and that I got to take care of, and I was just always completely enamored with them. Part of my education, my degree in wildlife and fisheries science, was major ornithology coursework alongside herpetology, and those have always been my favorite types of animals to work with. I do personally share my life, my heart, and my home with my 5 parrots. You can see Bonsai here. I'm sure he'll make his way down here shortly. But y'all, I frequently get asked about parrots, what it's like having them, how to determine what species to get, so many different questions. And I definitely plan on doing more parrot related videos, but for this initial one, I really wanted to kind of explain why parrots are not the right pet for the vast majority of people. And Bonsai came down. So a little bit about me and my background. Once again, I do have a degree from A&M in wildlife and fisheries science, major coursework in ornithology. I've worked as a professional trainer, keeper, educator, and I have had the great fortune of working with one of the very best board certified avian veterinarians, Dr. Stephen Fromfield, at ABC Animal and Bird Clinic in Sugar Land, Texas. Y'all, if you need an excellent avian vet, I definitely recommend them. He's the one that sees all my birds. So I kind of have a very vast background in working with birds in all kinds of capacities, not to mention my own personal experience. As you can see here, I'm pretty much always surrounded by birds. So, before I start off and have people say, oh, you're a hypocrite, you have 5 birds, every single one of my birds, I was not the first owner of. I did work in parrot rescue quite a bit. And y'all, whenever you start to have exotic animals, especially parrots, y'all have no idea how many times I've had people try and give me their parrots, give me a free parrot, and we'll touch on that later. Y'all, the overwhelming majority of people that get these guys get them for the absolute worst possible reasons. And so that's what I am here to cover today with all of my little buddies to help. I have Clover, she's about 8 years old, an Alexandrian parakeet, one of the largest parakeets in the world. And then Sage, my baby bird, she's about 6 and she's a mustache parakeet. They both came to me from different situations. I have 2 conures, both rescue birds as well. Willow is my Nanday conure, she's about 11 years old. And then Ash is my blue crown conure, he's about 14. And then my baby, my problem child, my love Bonsai here, he is a 17-year-old Solomon Island eclectus. So I have pretty good experience with a wide variety of species, sizes, ages, everything. I've had the great pleasure of working with some of the most highly desired species like hyacinth macaws and black palm cockatoos. But the biggest mistake I see people make is they instantly want to start off with one of the big species. They think bigger is better, it's cool, it's flashy, they want a cool novelty, whatever. Macaws, Amazons, cockatoos, African grays. I hate the notion of a beginner bird. I do not think that's the right approach to take when getting a bird. It shouldn't matter if you get a $20 budgie or a $20,000 hyacinth macaw. Their monetary value means nothing in the end. That budgie should receive the same love and care and attention as a hyacinth macaw. These guys are so incredibly intelligent And people have no idea how intelligent they are until you spend your life with them, share your home with them, see all of the little shenanigans that these guys will put you through in a home setting. You know, I don't know if it's as big of an issue across the US, but down here in Texas, unfortunately, we have flea markets where people will just go in and impulsively buy a parrot. Y'all, this is an animal that you need to do an extensive amount of research on before you jump into. This is no joke. Like I said, this guy here is 17 years old, and that's a fraction of how long I hope he will live. You know, the life expectancy on these guys. I've worked with parrots that are in their 80s. You guys, think about that. Whether you're getting a bird at 50 years old or 20 years old, that's still a lifetime commitment for you. You know, if you're older and getting a bird, you're gonna have to plan for them, and you will think about them after you're gone. Even if you're younger and getting a bigger bird like a macaw, you very well may still have to consider that bird after you're gone. Something else to keep in mind is just how emotional these animals are. Take Bonsai here. He is an eclectus. Just like different dog breeds, every parrot species is going to have very different mannerisms, characteristics that make them unique. They're all very much individuals. So just like you can't judge a dog based on its breed, you cannot judge a parrot based on its species. But eclectus are very sensitive birds, very observant. They're not hands-on. They're not a touchy-feely bird. So keep that into consideration. A lot of people want a parrot thinking it's going to be a little cuddly love bug like a puppy. Y'all, a lot of parrots do not like that. They're kind of more like cats in that they want to interact with you on their terms. Now, you'll hear the terms like mushmack, cockatoomer, as we call them. So cockatoos are kind of the poster child for being the little fluffy love sponges. But that comes at a price. You know, in the beginning, whenever you're doting on them and giving them endless attention, they're going to get acclimated to that, and they're going to expect that. Even after that honeymoon period is over and you have to get back to your normal life of working full time, taking care of your household, your kids, wanting to go out of town, that kind of thing. So in that regard, you know, definitely research species very extensively, because no two species are the same. You know, I have 5 different species. Every single one of them is incredibly different. You know, going back to the emotional maturity and the sensitive nature of these guys, a lot of them do not adjust well to change. I often equate them to foster children. So parrots, their brains, we'll get to that later. Their brains are very complex, very uniquely adapted to survive. And, you know, they have both the emotional maturity of like a 2-year-old, but the cognitive ability of, you know, a 6 or 7-year-old. And that is for life. You know, if you have a human kid, they grow up and out of that phase. These guys don't. They stay there forever. And so in order to, you know, be a successful companion for a parrot, you need to have a lot of patience, because you're going to need it. Especially in the beginning, setting boundaries with these guys. You know, they're just like toddlers. They're going to push buttons. They're going to do stuff that you don't want them to do. And they're going to look you dead in the eye while they're doing it, just to see how far they can go. This little thing on their face, it is destructive. You know, that's how they interact with the world. You can see him kind of nibbling on me. He's not biting me. This bird has only ever bit me 1 time since I've had him. But that does scare a lot of people. And that brings me to my next point, is with parrots, it's not a matter of if you get bit, it's a matter of when. So that is something that you're just gonna have to get over. You're gonna have to get over that fear. And that's another reason why I often don't recommend people get, you know, a big macaw or cockatoo, an Amazon, or a gray. Because y'all, I've been bit by those birds. It's not fun. I have many scars. No bird is fun, even a budgie, but, especially if you're getting a bird for kids, which I do not recommend getting a parrot strictly because your kid wants one. You as the adult definitely need to take full responsibility for the bird. But it is something to keep in the back of your mind. These guys do require a lot of training, a lot of attention, and they're nothing like training a dog. These guys, I always tell people, they're 1 foot out of the jungle. This is not a domesticated animal. They're simply tamed. This video has absolutely no microphones. I am just purely recording the audio in my house. You can hear my Ufaga Pamilio calling right now, and you have heard some of my birds' lovely vocalizations thus far. That is generally one of the top reasons people rehome their parrots, is the noise. Y'all, these guys are no joke. Same thing, the bigger the bird you're getting into, the louder their vocalizations are gonna get. And I am not exaggerating when I say this. They are on par with jet engines or fireworks. Moluccan cockatoos and Aratinga conures are the poster children for incredibly loud, noisy birds. Y'all, I have a Nande conure. If I have to bring a ladder through my house or something, she lets me know she is not a fan of it. You can hear her outside down the street. So if you're getting a bird, you need to make sure everybody in your house is in agreement with it. They're willing to tolerate it. And if you have neighbors in close proximity, you might need to feel them out too. I'm fortunate in that my neighbors actually have parrots as well. My next door neighbor has Catalina macaw. Y'all, when that bird starts contact calling in their house, I can hear it in my house with every door and window shut. And fortunately for us, we don't have a problem with it. It's just something that we're acclimated to living with. But if you are in an apartment, a condo, something like that, that is something you're gonna have to take into consideration. You may love your bird to death, but there may come a time where, somebody you're living by doesn't. And it's really not fair to have to rehome a parrot and put them through that emotional distress because you didn't plan accordingly. And that goes to my next point. Y'all, almost nobody I've ever encountered has a parrot their entire life. Like I said, I have 5. I am not the first home for any one of my 5. This guy here is quite the special case. I took him in when he was 13, and he was just a raging little ball of hormones. And he also has allergy issues. So I'm not sure if the camera's picking it up, but right now, during the spring and summer here in Texas, humans suffer from really bad allergies. Our pets can too. This guy, he'll scratch. Whenever I took him in, he used to get really bad nasal discharge, and he would just scratch around his eyes and his face so much that he would lose his feathers. It's definitely a lot better these days with medical management and the air purifiers and whatnot that I use. But hormones, a lot of people do not realize what an issue this can be, especially if you have not experienced the joy of birdie puberty before. So birds do go through sexual maturity, just like any other animal. Y'all, birds, or parrots, I should say, are no joke. The age that they reach it is different based on species. Generally speaking, it's between about 1 year to 6 years, with the larger guys reaching maturity later in life. My Alexandrian, whenever she went through sexual maturity, she was a little rage monster constantly. Think about, a rebellious teenager that doesn't want anything to do with you, is always grouchy and moody. That's how a lot of these guys can be during it. And you can't really fight nature. It's a natural process for these guys. You do have to stay very persistent with them. And my advice is just don't give up on them. Like I said, this guy is 17. He was a little raging ball of hormones whenever I took him in. And as you can see, he's chill as can be with me. You know, he loves being with me, always wants to hang out with me. But when there's longer light during the day and changes in temperature, they'll often turn hormonal even as they age. So like this guy, he will rub his cloaca, he'll go through his regurgitation spells where he will try to feed me. You know, you have to stay very consistent with them on that. And that's something a lot of people are not willing to do, or they simply don't know how to do. And they get very overwhelmed with it, just like his previous owner. That's how I wound up with him. Yes. And the other thing is going back to those vocalizations. Y'all, like I said, these animals are 1 foot out of the jungle. They're not vocalizing to think, oh, hey, I just want to annoy mom or dad. These guys vocalize just like that. You're gonna get it. You know, even if you have a quiet parrot like a Poicephalus species or budgies, cockatiels, things like that, you're still gonna have to deal with loud vocalizations from time to time. And now he will vocalize when I'm not paying direct attention to him. And he's letting me know, hey, you should be paying all of your attention to me. Because once again, that all ties back to that neediness that these guys have. Just like a toddler hanging onto your leg, wanting a snack, wanting to watch TV, any of that stuff, these guys go through the same thing. Yeah, you're demonstrating. I know. So if you're not willing to live with that, parrot is not for you. And that brings me to my next point, y'all. These guys are messy. Very messy, and that makes it difficult when you're a clean freak such as myself. These guys, you know, they're adapted to living up in the canopies and the jungles. They are a main method of seed dispersal to promote plant growth, tree propagation, that kind of thing. They have adapted to just, you know, take a couple bites of food and then drop it below. They don't have to worry about it. And so the way I tell people is think about the floor in your house now being the jungle floor, because that's essentially what it is whenever you're keeping these guys. You can potty train birds. You know, this guy's pretty well potty trained to go inside of his cage. But it takes a lot of work, a lot of consistency, and just like housebreaking a dog, it does not happen overnight. Food, they will get food all over your walls, all over the floor, all over your furniture. And so you're gonna have to clean up after them, just like a toddler. Yeah, what do you think? Another big time when they're really messy is during molting period. Y'all, whenever these guys molt or essentially shed their old feathers to allow new ones to grow in, it looks like a feather bomb went off. Think about a glitter bomb, but instead of glitter, it is feathers. My Alexandrian clover just recently molted, and y'all, it looked like she went through a wood chipper around her cage and the floor, the wall. There were feathers everywhere. So that is something to definitely keep in mind. Something that is a little more back burner that I don't see a lot of people talking about, and it definitely hits me personally, is considering health issues that you might have. Reason I say that is, as I touched on earlier, I absolutely loved my job working with Dr. Fromfield, the board certified avian vet. Unfortunately, I started having some severe problems. I am a lung patient. It was not until we did very extensive testing that we found out that the antigens that are produced by cockatoos, cockatiels, and African greys cause very severe reactions in my lungs through a disease called hypersensitivity pneumonitis. So that unfortunately caused me to have to leave that job because many of our patients were those birds. And so if you do have something like asthma or any other type of lung issue, or you suffer from really bad allergies, birds may not be the best choice for you. You know, I had to make some pretty drastic changes to be able to still keep my birds. And that included, you know, high dollar purifiers, regular bathing and misting of them, adjusting, you know, where I keep them in the house, my interactions with them, and the medications that I have to take. I had so many people, doctors included, say that I was going to have to give up my birds. And y'all, whenever you get that bond with the parrot, there's really nothing else like it. I know a lot of people hate this comparison, but I don't have kids. These are my kids, and they're not going anywhere. So like I said before, you know, when you take on a bird, it doesn't matter if it's a budgie or a hyacinth macaw. It is a very, very hard commitment that you need to consider. They're very demanding, very needy birds or pets to have, and especially to share your house with. I always tell people you don't own a parrot. You simply share your life and share your home with them. Other things are health issues with birds. So big thing here is they are very uniquely adapted. They have a highly evolved, very efficient, complex respiratory system. What that means is you may have to adjust your lifestyle or the things you do in your house or keep in your house if you're going to safely keep a bird. What I mean by that is Teflon, candles, incense, aerosol sprays, different cleaners. If you're a smoker or a vapor, y'all, none of those things are conducive to having parrots. Think about the old adage about canaries in coal mines. There's a reason they use canaries in coal mines, guys. You know, whenever toxic gases would build up, like carbon monoxide, they would kill the canaries before they killed the miners. And that's when the miners knew they needed to get the heck out of there. A lot of people aren't aware that common household products can prove deadly whenever you're keeping birds. Back to toddler. He just decided to get on the ground and now he wants me to pick him back up. Feathered toddler, that's what they are. But any kind of non-stick cookware, air fryers, clothing irons, waffle irons, things like that, once they get heated past a certain temperature, they release polytetrafluoroethylene or PTFE. Y'all, it's deadly to birds. And a lot of times the only sign of PTFE poisoning or Teflon toxicity is a dead bird. It can happen very fast, and there's not really anything you can do about it once it's happened. You know, it's a really sad, really unfortunate occurrence that I've personally seen happen to people, and it's for, you know, that lack of research, lack of, you know, understanding your animal. And so if you're serious about getting these guys, just keep in mind you may have to adjust your lifestyle. Isn't that right? And going into, you know, health issues, veterinary care can be very difficult to acquire for these guys and very costly. Like I said, I'm very fortunate to live, you know, 20 minutes away from an incredible board certified avian vet. If you live in the middle of Nebraska, you may not have that luxury. You know, we got people all the time coming into us from all over the state of Texas, which is no joke, even from out of state. And we would get calls regularly from people across the country because they couldn't find anybody that was knowledgeable or willing to, you know, take care of their bird. And on that note, you know, I'm not trying to shame anybody, but with my experience in the veterinary world, just because a veterinarian is willing to see your bird doesn't mean that they should, that they are qualified, or that you should take them to them. I've seen a lot of vets that, you know, look at a parrot or they diagnose the wrong medication. You know, they do things that ultimately wind up harming the bird more than helping. And so it's very important to do your research and don't be afraid to ask questions. You know, if you have a vet that says they're willing to see your bird, kind of test them. Ask them what their experience is with birds. If they can't give you good, solid answers, you're better off trying to go somewhere else. You know, that's just the unfortunate reality. I've seen it happen far too many times. Yes, isn't that right? And now he's kind of going into regurgitation mode. So y'all, I really wanted this video to be very raw and unedited, hearing my birds in the background, hearing how loud they can be. They're kind of eating right now, so not super loud, but y'all got a little taste of what it's like. And y'all saw how close he is to me. If you have very sensitive hearing, a parrot may not be the best option for you. But, you know, people always talk about the great aspects of keeping them, which, don't get me wrong, I wouldn't have 5 if there wasn't, you know, an abundance of having, you know, great joy with these guys. But they're definitely not for everybody. You know, they're very unique animals. They're very unique companions, but they are very high maintenance. There's no two ways about that with these little critters. You know, a lot of people get bad information. Y'all, do not go to like a big box pet store and buy a crappy little cheap bird cage. The bird cages they sell at those stores belong in the dumpster. I mean, I'm not going to sugarcoat that. You know, it goes back to thoroughly researching. They have very complex health needs as well as far as diet. A lot of these parrots, they don't eat seed. And I've seen people that come in and just feed their, you know, blue and gold macaw $5 bag of wild bird seed mix. Y'all, that is going to lead to so many health issues so quickly. A very moody bird that does not feel good, so they're not going to act super friendly and loving towards you, because let's face it, whenever we feel like crap, we're not all lovey-dovey, want to be up in everybody's business, want them up in ours. These guys are no different. If they're feeling bad because they are not getting adequate nutrition, their body is not functioning properly, you're not going to have a pleasant pet on your hands. Not to mention, you're going to eventually have a very sick pet on your hands. Going back to cages, you know, there's this saying about, you know, having your animals engaged, not caged. You cannot keep any species of parrot in a cage their whole life. I do think it's important to have a nice, adequate size cage for them that has plenty of toys and enrichment for them, a place for them to eat and basically call their home, have perches of different textures, shapes, and sizes to promote good foot health. But y'all, like you can see right here, I am very fortunate to be able to work from home most of the time now. My birds are constantly out. They are also free-flighted, so they're welcome to fly to me at any time or fly to any part of the house, visit each other's cages, hang out with each other, basically interact as a flock, as birds are meant to do. And so many people get this notion that they can just keep a bird in its cage its whole life. Just talk to it once or twice a week, give it a little head scritch here or there. Y'all, that is so emotionally devastating for these guys. You need to engage them, not cage them. And you know, proper parrot cages, proper parrot toys, proper parrot perches can be very expensive. And that is another thing, you know, people just think about the upfront cost of parrots and how much they are and think it's kind of a one and done. Y'all, these guys are an expense for life. And let me tell you, they're much more expensive than a dog or a cat or most other exotic pets that you're gonna have. And so I know I've said this a million times, but please do your research, formulate a plan. You know, these animals, they don't deserve the fate that a lot of times they get. Having worked in parrot rescue, like I said earlier, I couldn't even tell you how many people I've had try to pawn their birds off on me, try to guilt trip me into taking their problem bird, their mutilator, their really aggressive bird because they've kept it locked in a cage on a poor diet for the past 10 years. And as much as I would love to be able to take in every single one of these birds, y'all, there's not enough of us that do it. And so those of us that do kind of try and stop it before it begins. You know, I recently had a gentleman at one of the herp shows I was vending talk about how much he wanted an African gray. And my friend I was vending with was asking him why. And he's like, oh, because they can talk and they're so smart. Y'all, if that is your answer for getting a parrot, you need to reevaluate why you're really wanting one. I really only have one parrot that's a major talker. That's Ash, my blue-crowned conure. Y'all, when you get a talking parrot, a lot of times they don't shut up. And people get more than what they bargained for when you get that talking parrot you initially wanted. You know, whenever I'm sweeping, for instance, anytime I'm sweeping, which is every single day, he will ask me the entire time I am sweeping the house, what you doing? What you doing? What you doing? I don't know why, but brooms have always triggered him. He's always very curious whenever I'm sweeping. Anytime I'm cooking or eating where he can see me, what you eating? What are you eating? Can I have? And I think it's charming. I like it. He's my baby. But y'all, whenever I have like family over or something, sometimes they get annoyed with it. That goes back to being patient. You have to be very, very patient to successfully live with a parrot. There's no other way to do, or no other way to be about it. So those are definitely some of the main points that I wanted to mention. You know, they'll tear up your stuff. I have a lot of clothes that have holes in them. My Nande conure, you know, she's chewed off paint off of the walls before. These guys, they get into some shenanigans, and you need to be prepared for it, and you can't lose your cool about it. So with all of that said, y'all, they really are amazing companions for the right people. I couldn't imagine my life without my little flock of animals, without my little crew of birds, but the people before them did. You know, I can't stress that enough. Every single bird I've had, some of them, I don't know what number home I am for them. You know, I have birds that are in their teens. I have no idea how many houses they've lived in before me. But the mentality you need to have getting into parrots is you're going to be their last home. And that's what I can safely say for these guys. If y'all have any questions about parrots, please feel free to drop them down below. I can talk parrots all day long. You know, and I definitely plan on doing more videos with these guys. Yes, especially you, because you're an attention whore. But I just kind of wanted to get this one out of the way because it definitely covers a lot of topics that I am most frequently asked about. So with all that said, I hope y'all enjoyed it. Hope you learned a thing or two about what life is really like with parrots. Got a taste of how loud they can be and what it takes to successfully share your home with one. So thanks for watching. Bye.